That's fraud. Add up all the charges. Grand larceny. Yep. You don't see anything wrong there? Hello, little enzymes. Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic of today's video is going to be entitled Siblings, otherwise known as What You Thought This Was. We have 3 stories. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All of the information will be included in the description. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, the first story says, am I the a-hole for refusing to let my deadbeat brother live with me rent-free? So I, 34 male, have a younger brother, Jake, 29 male, who has always struggled to keep a job or stay consistent with anything. For as long as I can remember, he's been hopping from one passion project to another, never sticking with anything long enough to make a living. My parents have been enabling him for years, letting him live with them rent-free while he finds himself. Now my parents have finally decided they're done supporting him, and Jake has come to me asking if he can move in for a while. I asked him what his plan was, and he said he just needed a break from life to figure things out. Sound like you've had an extended break, sir. When I pressed him about getting a job, he got defensive and said, not everyone is meant to work for the man like you. He thinks the traditional 9-to-5 is beneath him, but hasn't exactly come up with a sustainable alternative. I told him he could stay for 1 month, but after that, he'd need to either contribute to rent or find somewhere else to go. He flipped out, calling me selfish and saying family is supposed to help each other without conditions. He even tried guilt tripping me, saying I'm living comfortably while he's struggling, so I should share the wealth. Okay, now he finna piss me off. He's living comfortably because he worked to live comfortably. Y'all grew up in the same household and likely had the same exact opportunities to succeed. You chose a different path. And that's okay. If you feel like working for the man or whatever is not your cup of tea, that is absolutely fine. In the same token, you should not expect other people to pick up your slack because you refuse to participate in the rat race. So they continue, now some family members are saying I'm being too harsh and that Jake just needs some support, but I feel like I'd just be enabling his behavior like my parents did. So, am I the a-hole for setting boundaries and refusing to let my brother freeload off of me? Now, okay, let me read some comments before I go to the edit. But some comments, one says, this is a no-win situation. If you let him move in, he will never leave and you will have to kick him out. Might as well refuse him to move in now and live in peace. Someone responded, yes, I let my deadbeat brother stay with me temporarily because he had nowhere else. A few weeks turned into 18 months of pure hell. It took a restraining order and an arrest to get him out. Don't do it, OP. Whew, 18 months, jeez. Someone responded, my sister ended up staying with me for 12 years, guilt-tripping me the whole time about how she didn't want to be there, and I felt bad for having to help her when she wanted to stand on her own. Kept quitting jobs every couple months or getting fired, drove my car all around, tried to boss my husband in his own home, and interfered in my marriage, etc. When I finally asked her to leave, it became a mess. She still holds a grudge 12 years later. Plot twist, at almost 60, still no stable job and moved in with her mother. Yikes. Yeah, in this situation, I definitely would not engage. Like, if you've fallen on hard times and you just need a place to crash, by all means, yes. But if you have a proven track record of not doing well and not trying to do well for yourself, you ain't fit to come into my house and disrupt my peace. So there is an edit. This person says, sorry to deceive you all, but it was necessary to prove my point. Guys, every time a post ends with half of my friends or family are on my side and half on the other, it's always ChatGPT. You ask it to write you any Am I the a-hole story, and it always puts that at the end. I really hate just how gullible everyone on Reddit is, especially in this sub. They just love the rage bait. Go ahead and ask ChatGPT to write you any Am I the A-hole post, and it will always add on the part about how half agree with you and half disagree. Obviously, people are too lazy to just remove this part because they know none of you know about it and they are just farming karma. So apparently, the whole story is fake, although it seems that people in the comments actually have stories similar to this that are real. So I guess even though it is fake, it is a interpretation of the truth. But that's funny. I think we take all, honestly, Reddit stories with a grain of salt. I think, well, I hope most people know some of them can be fake, some of them can be true. There's really no way to tell, but that's just the nature of Reddit. So let me go to the next one. I actually have to find this one on Google because it was removed. Okay, I think I found it. Am I the a-hole for telling my pregnant sister to lower her expectations for me as an uncle? My sister is pregnant with her first child and is very excited about it. I'm happy for her because she really wants to be a mom. I have never particularly liked kids. I always said I never wanted kids of my own, even when I was young. Things changed somewhat, and I have a stepson that I adore, but other than him, I still do not like kids. For some reason, people around me interpret my relationship with my stepson as me having softened my dislike of children when I am very clear this is not the case. I am also very introverted and do not do much as far as being around people that is more than the bare minimum to keep those around me happy. I am much happier home, either alone or with my girlfriend and stepson, just hanging out, than with the rest of my family or with friends. My sister today was excited about her pregnancy and I was indulging her to be nice. She started going off on all the fun things I can do as an uncle with her yet to be born child, and at first I just let it go. I didn't play along or say no, I just let her talk. She wouldn't stop, and eventually it just got to be too much and I told her she needed to cool it. She asked what I meant, and I said her and I have different views of my role as an uncle. She asked what I meant, and I said I would see her kid on birthdays, holidays, and family events, but I didn't see myself doing all the things she was naming off. She got very upset and said, how could I say that about my soon-to-be first niece or nephew? I reminded her I am not the biggest fan of children and didn't see myself having a particularly close relationship with her child. She mentioned what a good dad I am to my stepson, and I said, that's different. That's my son. I'm not her kid's father, and I don't have to be involved with her kid if I don't want to be. We also have another brother, and we both know he will be wanting to do as much with her kid as possible. So I said it's not like the kid needs me. My parents then got the hint her and I were in a disagreement and came over to see what was going on. Both my parents are on her side and think I should be a better uncle and also should not have said something to upset my pregnant sister. So I have to ask, am I the a-hole? I say not the a-hole for like how you feel because it's valid. Like if you don't want to participate, that is your decision and no one can make you do something that you don't want to do. Maybe I would have said it in a different way just in the moment because she's all excited and like sometimes if it's not necessary, like the kid isn't even here yet. So sometimes if it's not necessary to say certain things during certain moments, I won't. But it doesn't sound like you were overly rude with it, but I don't know, maybe I would have took a slightly different approach. Some of the comments, someone said, wait a minute, you have a family of your own. Does she spend time doing things with and for your stepson? This isn't how it works. You do for your kids, your sister does for hers. I am one of 6. I can't even imagine how that would work. That's a good point. OP responded, she does things with my stepson every couple months. This year, she took him to a water park for his birthday and had him come over her house to ride jet skis and go fishing once. We probably did one or two other things with him as well that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Another person, don't forget you're an actual adult. Have you considered that people don't assume you softened your stance on children with your stepson, but actually assume you matured enough to understand that children are still people and if they are in your family, deserve some semblance of effort? I don't know if I fully agree with that comment. Yeah, I do agree that they deserve some semblance of effort, but how does that, I don't know how that relates to him not liking kids. I don't agree with that comment. Someone said, so the problem isn't at all that you're not good with kids. The problem is you don't actually give a crap about your family, so you're totally fine not having a relationship if that's more convenient for you. OP responded, I don't like kids. I do not like being around kids other than my stepson. That is very relevant first and foremost. I don't like being around my friends' kids either, and they know I'm not the friend to invite to their kids' birthday parties. I don't like my parents because they made me raise their two other kids for nearly a decade because they were not equipped to be parents. They stole my childhood from me and years of my life that I can never get back. I do not like my sister because she defends them and thinks I should forgive and forget. This is also a factor. Well, that's some important context because now it makes sense why they feel the way that they feel. I honestly didn't have an issue with it because some people just don't like kids. Kids are not all that likable all the time. To me, that's fine. It would be unfortunate if I had a brother or my sister that didn't want to really be involved in my kid's life. At the same time, that's what they choose to do. I know who they are. I know what they like and dislike. I can't force them to want to be around my kid. And honestly, if I know that they don't like kids, I wouldn't want them to be I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here, but some of these comments sound offended almost that he doesn't like kids, and I just don't get it. So he continues, I also generally do not like being around people. It is draining to me. It does not make me happy. Anytime I'm around people other than my girlfriend and stepson, I am doing it for the person I am doing it with and not for myself because I would rather not be there. This is also a factor. I guess this isn't as black and white as my original post, and that is my fault for not being as detailed as I should have been. Okay, so there was an edit and then an update. So the edit says, I talked with my brother about it. He basically said, based off of everything I've said my entire life, he doesn't understand why my sister would have ever had these expectations to begin with. He's not on anyone's side. He said he gets why she wants more from me, but also thinks that she should have expected this. Right, that's kind of how I'm feeling. And then he said, update, my sister just called me. She spoke with both my brother and her husband last night after the fact, and they told her that there was nothing in our relationship the past 20 plus years that should have led her to conclude my attitude towards her child being anything other than what I told her. She apologized if she made me feel like I was being pushed into a relationship with her child that I did not want. I apologized for the time and manner in which I said what I said and that I could have handled it better. I also apologized for not being the kind of person she is hoping for as the uncle of her child. We both accepted each other's apologies and we're good now. Okay, well, that's good. I think that's a good result. So 2 days later, there was another update. OP says, the update with my sister was accurate, but my parents were not leaving it alone. They still wanted me to be involved with my sister and her kid more and would not drop it. What? Why? So I called a meeting with my family today. When I say my family, I mean my siblings, brother-in-law, and parents, not my girlfriend and stepson. Prior to this meeting, I had a discussion with my girlfriend last night, and she agreed it was okay for me to tell them the parts regarding her personally and our son that I'm about to describe, even if she didn't agree with some of the reasons for it. I explained to them again my aversion to kids and not liking being around them. They, of course, questioned why I have a stepson then. Now this is starting to piss me off too. Because who are y'all to be questioning him and forcing him to give you an explanation for why he does or doesn't do what he does? He's not hurting nobody. He comes around when you want him to come around, even though he don't want to come around. And y'all are badgering the man. Well, then why you have a stepson if you don't? Leave him alone. So he continues, I explained to them a whole bunch of background about meeting his mom and later him and how it came to be where I love him like my own, despite me not liking other kids. They asked if the same could happen with my sister's child, and I said, never say never, but it is very unlikely. I also explained to them that I am not a social person in general and do not do things socially often. I told them about the fact that I even only see the people I consider my best friends 2 to 3 times a year because that's all the energy I can muster to be social. I explained that being social and seeing people socially is like work to me, and it is mentally and emotionally exhausting, and I don't like doing it, but I do it from time to time because I know others want it from me. They didn't understand why someone can feel like social interaction is work and that I should just grow up and be with people because it's unnatural to only want to spend time with my girlfriend and stepson and otherwise be a hermit. I said their opinion is fine, but it does not change anything. I apologized that who I am upsets them and if it hurts them that I am this way. We then moved on to talk about our individual relationships. I told my parents I have not forgiven them for making me raise my brother and sister when I was just a kid myself and that I almost certainly never will. I also told my sister I have an issue with her defending them for this. I understand they did their best and that they were gone because they were trying to make ends meet, but if they couldn't afford kids without always working and not being present, they shouldn't have had kids. They all pointed out that would mean my siblings and I likely wouldn't be alive, and I said I understand that, but my opinion still stands. There was a lot of fighting over this that I won't go into detail on. My brother didn't really say much during this, but my brother-in-law actually said when it came to my parents, he may not agree with not forgiving them, but he understands why I feel the way I do. Okay, so he got somebody on his side. I told my brother and brother-in-law that on a personal level, I have zero issues with either of them, and that if I had a normal social drive, perhaps we could have a closer relationship. I then reiterated that I am there for all of them if they ever needed me for something before I moved on to the thing that I really wanted to say to them. Some people pointed out me not being as involved with my sister's kid as she is with mine is not fair. So I thought about it, and those people may be right. So I told them all that we have 2 options moving forward. 1, we can have a limited relationship where they see me, my girlfriend, and stepson on birthdays, holidays, and special occasions. I will not do other hangouts and things with them or the future child, and they will not do special things with me and my family. We see each other at these things and in emergencies only. I told them when my stepson is older and old enough to make his own decisions, if he wants a further relationship with them, I would not stop him from pursuing it, and I would not poison the well. Or option 2, we have no relationship at all moving forward, and we completely remove each other from each other's lives. I told them that the decision as to which option they want is up to them and can be taken on an individual basis and is of course open to future changes should all of us want them, and that they did not have to have an answer for me right away if they did not want to. Again, my parents and sister were upset I gave them an ultimatum and said it was completely unfair. My brother and brother-in-law were both silent. I left and then got a call from my brother shortly thereafter. He said he accepts what I had to say, even if he doesn't quite understand my antisocial behaviors, and wants option 1 even if the others didn't. I told him I was happy he chose option 1 because if I got to choose any of them to interact with still, he would be my choice and that we'd be in touch. Okay. I mean, I will admit, the way he moves, it wouldn't be the way I move. It would be odd for me, but I also am not a antisocial person. I'm more of like an ambivert. So yeah, sometimes I do get a little bit drained being around people, but I do like being around people sometimes. Yeah, I like a good balance. He's definitely a true introvert, and maybe some other things, but that's okay. And so then here are some comments after that, I guess technically second update. Someone said, "This is such an important family topic for a lot of us. I was more socially connected when my kids were little and I was married, but since my husband moved on to a friend after over 30 years of marriage and my kids are married with lives of their own, I've become much less social in a lot of ways. Permanently working from home made it easier to insulate myself from hurt. It's not healthy, I acknowledge that, but it is what makes me most comfortable. Some people will understand, like your brother, and take what you're able to offer, and others will disrespect your choice to live as you see fit. I'm proud of you for speaking your truth and so glad you have your girlfriend and stepson to be your immediate family. I hope to have your courage someday, but for now, I do what I can and don't do what I can't. Thanks for sharing your story." OP responded, "I am so sorry you're going through this. I hope one day you're able to find a happy balance in your life." Another person, "You made me feel less alone. Thank you for that." And OP responded, "Please don't ever feel alone. I know this is stupid and cliche, but someone somewhere cares. More than likely, more than one someone." And then another person, "I don't mean to come off so dramatic. I have 2 amazing sons. I love their wives and am blessed with 4 grandchildren. I also have my mom and sister, but the males in my family, except my late dad, are a big part of why I stay away a lot of time. Everyone's life is made of good and bad. I just related to your story because it's hard to make some people understand why we are who we are. Your courage to bring it into the open gave me a lot to think about. Thanks for responding. I do appreciate it." Oh, I think that person responded, the one who said, "You made me feel less alone." That was their response to his response. And then another comment, "If you don't feel social, email your brother. It's oddly less work to shoot off an email than give a phone call or text. It might be a good way for you to still have a close bond but not see each other regularly or feel the pressure to answer right away." OP responded, "Thank you. Given what I've said above, it probably will sound strange, but I actually enjoy texting with people. My friends and I text pretty much every day, even if I don't want to see them very often." Another person, "I think for the first time since becoming adults that I now understand my brother, who I think is similar to you. Thank you for explaining your situation and thought processes." And another comment, "Thank you for sharing. This is an eye-opening view of introverts and the internal work they go through to socialize. It does sound exhausting, and I have a better understanding and less judgment. How come there wasn't a third option for your family to continue to have a relationship with your stepson as they do now? I don't understand why anyone would punish your stepson for your preferences. Having a relationship with a child is a choice and comes from a place of kindness and care. You don't do it because you expect something in return, like you spending time with their kids so they're spending time with yours. If they pull back from him, wouldn't he notice and that hurt his feelings?" OP responded, "This is a good and fair question. My stepson does not ask about them and does not see them often. They aren't huge parts of his life, even if they occasionally do things for him. There are 3 reasons for not having this option, though. 1, they never asked for it. Not once during the entire conversation did any of them bring up my stepson. They only talked about my sister's baby and how I should be part of its life. This was telling to me. I think them continuing their relationship with my son is mostly to get me involved with her child at this point because 2, my sister and parents are notorious scorekeepers. I used to be as well, but have worked hard to break the habit and still am working on it because I still catch myself doing it from time to time. I think if we kept allowing them to do things for my son, it is most certainly we'd eventually hear from them, "We did it for you. It's time to reciprocate." And 3, I hate to admit this, but the responses on my last post also influenced me. I may have argued with people about it, but deep down, I knew they were right. To let it be one-sided where my sister gave and I had no intention of doing the same was unfair. Okay, so that makes sense. Well, that's the end of that. I'm glad they could come to some sort of a compromise, but I too was like, why are they so up in arms about his choice? Like, I could understand if he was harmful or rude or whatever, but he just liked to be to himself and he don't like kids. Like, that's fine. So we'll go to the next story. This one says, am I the a-hole for refusing to co-sign my sister's mortgage after my parents went behind my back? I, 28 female, have been busting my butt for years to save for my own house. I work in software, so I make decent money, but it still takes forever to build up a good down payment. Meanwhile, my younger sister, 25 female, is in grad school with barely any credit. Our parents, both mid-50s, found a house near them and decided she needs it. They made an offer without telling me, and now the deal only goes through if I co-sign. What? How did this How did this get this far to where the deal is only going through if you co-sign? Because don't you have to show some sort of proof of funds before you really even looking at houses? Like, let me keep reading. Opie said, the problem, I had no clue they'd do this. My parents basically dropped a bomb. You have the best credit score. Co-sign so your sister can get the house. They also hinted I should chip in for the down payment because you've got the money. That is like one of my pet peeves. All of these stories, these entitled people. Opie says, if I co-sign, I'll be on the hook if my sister can't pay. She's still in school, has debt, and zero backup plan. The bank might also reject my future mortgage application since they'll see I'm already tied to another loan. But my parents say I'm selfish and forgetting family values. My sister's calling me a monster for leaving her stranded, and my mom threatened to cut off any future financial help like wedding money if I don't help right now. Some relatives think it's insane. I'm thinking of the first story. Some relatives think it's insane my parents tried to rope me into this after they already made the offer. Others say I should just do it for the family's sake. I feel guilty, but also mad they put me in this spot. Am I the a-hole for protecting my own finances, or are they wrong for strong-arming me into co-signing a mortgage I never wanted in the first place? The first stories tell about how these stories always end in this side of the family thinks this and this side of the family thinks that. That usually when it says that it's fake is hilarious because now I'm like, dang, is this one fake too? Anyways, this is crazy. When people are so entitled to others' finances, it doesn't make sense. So I worked all these years and I saved all my money and I worked to get my credit score up. And you have to benefit off of that just because I did it? Like, just because I have a good credit score, so you have to use it? Why? Because you're a relative? And what do I get? A mortgage that might go into default because you have no backup plan and you're in grad school and you obviously don't have the credit yourself. So you're not a reliable candidate. Like, how to make it make sense? There was an edit. Actually, let me read some comments. Someone said, absolutely do not co-sign, not the a-hole if you refuse. Let your mom not pay for the wedding. If she's threatening now, she will again. In the end, she probably won't, but that's not the main reason not to co-sign. The main reason is there is a huge chance you will be in debt for a house that is not yours. Exactly. Someone said, spoiler, they won't pay for your wedding anyway. Please don't sign. It will mess you up in ways you can't even imagine. Someone said, broke asses who care more about the golden child younger sister than their child who is actually taking charge of her own life. Another person said, no is a complete sentence. Keep using it. Someone said parents are planning to move into the house. That would make a lot of sense. Maybe they're trying to have her do it under the guise of, oh, it's for your sister, help your sister. Like, I won't pay for the wedding. And that's another thing. How are you saying that you're able to pay for my wedding, but you can't pay for the down payment? How are you going to be able to pay for the wedding, but you won't let younger sister borrow your credit and put the house in your name? You need me to co-sign. So who are you to say you about to cut off financial help for me? You need my help. Make it make sense. So there's an edit. I'm actually adopted, LMAO. Forgot to mention in my confused and angry state. My parents adopted me when I was very young because they'd been struggling to conceive. A few years later, they had my younger sister naturally, which was a huge deal to them. She was their miracle baby. Ever since, it felt like my role in the family became the older adopted one, while she was the golden child who could do no wrong. Growing up, I was expected to pitch in more, be more responsible, and generally look out for my sister. I worked my butt off in school, snagged scholarships, and eventually landed a good job in software. All the while, I felt like my family mostly saw me as the fallback option in case anyone needed financial or emotional support. Now that I'm actually building my own life, saving for a house, focusing on my career, I'm realizing how my success just makes me look like a bigger piggy bank to my parents. The more independent I become, the clearer it is that I need to separate myself from the constant guilt trips and the unspoken expectation that I'll always bail them, or my sister, out. I love them, but I can't keep sacrificing my own future to maintain a dynamic where I'm never the priority. So thank you all for the wake-up call. That makes it even worse, because now it's a convoluted issue. Now it's, are they acting like that simply because she's the youngest and for some reason they favor her? Or is it purely because OP is technically not their biological child, so they don't see her as that? And so, it's a mess. She does have an update. It says, update, not co-signing, standing firm, and moving on. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I'm absolutely not co-signing my sister's mortgage, and I'm definitely not pitching in for any down payment. This whole thing was the final push I needed to realize how messed up our family dynamic has been for ages. I mean, I've always known it was bad, but having them basically try to volunteer me and my finances without even asking just crossed a line I can't ignore anymore. I'm done. I've decided to cut ties. I would too, girl. She said, I'm already in the process of dropping any financial entanglements we might have, cutting off shared accounts, making sure they can't use my information for anything, and basically scrubbing them from my finances. My job lets me work remotely, so I'm planning to move out of state soon. That was always in the back of my mind, but now it feels urgent. I need space, distance, and a real shot at a normal life without the constant guilt trips. I'm also locking down my credit, freezing it, changing passwords, everything. I'm not taking any chances that someone might try to open a line of credit in my name. I've seen enough horror stories, and I'm not about to become one. Thankfully, I'm not all alone in this. My close friends have been incredible. They're basically my real family at this point, helping me pack, offering me a place to stay if I need it, reminding me that I'm not crazy for wanting to protect my future. They've been the biggest source of support, and I'm honestly so grateful to have them in my corner. So yeah, that's it. I'm not signing, I'm leaving, I'm done. If my family wants to blow up at me for abandoning them, so be it. I've got to look out for myself, my credit, and my sanity. Here's to hoping things only get better from here. Everyone who commented their 2 cents are amazing people, and I thank you all for your support while I'm dealing with this. Truly, thank you. Okay, well, I'm happy for her, because, let me see. Oh my goodness. So the next day, she made a post. Discovered a credit card in my name. It says, I discovered a credit card in my name. Okay, I was really hoping the update post would be the last one, but here I am. I didn't expect it to turn into a bigger mess. After deciding not to co-sign the mortgage for my sister, I started taking extra precautions with my finances, locking down my credit, pulling my full credit reports like you all suggested. I wanted to be absolutely sure no one could use my information without me knowing. That's when I stumbled on an active credit card I didn't open. Some of you guys warned me, and I guess I wasn't fast enough to lock down. It's been around for a couple of years now. It was being used, but I'm assuming my parents wanted to keep it from me with the intention of using it as leverage. As of yesterday, the statements show purchases that look a lot like household expenses. The billing address on file points right back to my parents' home. Are you kidding me? She says, I confronted them via text because I'm currently a couple hours away with a close friend. They claimed I benefited from these expenses, which doesn't make much sense how I did because they never helped me with setting up my own apartment. Also, it explains why they assumed I'd be okay with co-signing. Turns out they've been using my credit for a while. Are you serious? You just willy-nilly take out a credit card under my name and are actively using it, and like, you don't see anything wrong there? She says, needless to say, I feel completely betrayed. This wasn't some tiny oversight. My parents have been quietly using my name to fund their expenses. Now I'm talking to a professional to figure out whether I should dispute the charges or close the account outright without tanking my credit in the process. It's nerve-wracking realizing how they went behind my back even before this mortgage BS. At this point, I'm even more determined to move out of state to get distance from all of this. My job is thankfully remote friendly, so relocating won't wreck my career. My friends have been amazing, offering support so I don't completely lose my mind. If it weren't for them, I'd be a mess right now. I'm not trying to be vindictive or overdramatic. I just need to protect myself. The trust is gone, and I don't see how I can maintain a healthy relationship with people who thought this was okay. It's sad, and I wish it didn't come to this, but I've got to prioritize my own future. I'll let you know if anything else major happens, but for now, I'm focused on fully separating my finances from my family, getting ready to move, and making sure I don't pay the price, credit-wise, for something I never agreed to. It's scary, but I'm hoping it'll be worth it to finally have a life and a credit score of my own. Hoocha! That is diabolical. That is diabolical that a parent can do that to their child. And I don't know, for some reason, it just makes it worse that she's adopted. For some reason, to me, it just makes it worse. Because, like, are you using her? Like, was this the plan all along? What? I would immediately cut them off. There would be no reconciliation. And low-key, I might even sue. Because now you got text evidence of them admitting to using your credit. That's fraud. Add up all the charges. Catch them on a felony. Grand theft. Grand larceny. Yep. They finna be under the jail. Them and the golden child. That's crazy. Anyways, I'll go to the Palate Cleanser. I saw this video on the Made Me Smile subreddit. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And the title says, Arnold Schwarzenegger donated $250,000 to build 25 tiny homes for homeless vets in West LA, delivered just before Christmas. So it's a video. It's like a news story video. So I'll just let it play. But basically, if you're not watching, you can imagine it's like shots of him walking through the community, and it's showing the different tiny houses and like the different features and stuff that it has. So I'll go ahead and play this.
I'm going to show you inside one of these right now.
Arnold Schwarzenegger gets a tour of a series of tiny homes he bought for homeless veterans and their animals who once lived in tents on the streets. Former governor delivering this gift just days before Christmas.
That's got to feel so fulfilling, though, knowing that you're able to make this happen for them.
I'm ecstatic.
I'm really ecstatic. I'm so excited. To me, this is the greatest Christmas gift.
Schwarzenegger donating 25 new units. This is what the tiny home looks like. You've got a bed, you've got space. This isn't occupied yet, but it's going to make life a lot easier for one of these vets.
We brought everyone together, and there was no one that said it can't be done.
It's home.
Ferris Kearns spent months living on the streets. Talk about the difference between being in a tent and being in a tiny home.
No squirrels and no rats.
We owe everything to our veterans. You know, they've sacrificed their lives, their familyhood, their futures for us and for our freedom.
It makes me feel good that they continuously can give something back to this country that means everything to me.
Wow. Yeah, I thought that was just so nice. And I know some people probably gonna get in the comment, he only donated $250,000. What have you donated? This whole video we have talked about entitled people, being entitled to other people's money and what they do. What have you done? Okay, that's one of my pet peeves when people, they could have did more, but they're doing something that you're probably not doing. So I think this is great. Like, if someone has to choose between being in a tent on the street and, like the guy said, worried about squirrels and rats, or having like a dedicated tiny home to their self where they could feel secure. Now, I don't know if the tiny houses have like, I don't think they have like their own bathrooms, and it doesn't look like they have, you know, a kitchen or anything. I would hope that maybe they have like a community area where these people are able to like handle those basic daily needs. But it has AC, you know, it has 4 walls. You can lock yourself in. You have a place to call home, have a place to put your belongings, etc. I think it's great. And we should be doing more to help our veterans and also our unhoused population. Living in LA, I have never seen so much homelessness. It's quite sad. And it honestly like gives me guilt sometimes, because here I am, I have a car, you know, I have a place to live, and I'm just riding past you on the street. But what can I, like, there's only so much I can do, you know? So when I do come into some money, I want to do something very similar to this. I think I mentioned it in a video before, not just for homeless people, but also just for regular population, because rent is expensive everywhere. And I'm very much always concerned about larger societal issues, because even though it might seem that it's only affecting one population, these issues affect us all. It's a trickle down. I guess it's a trickle up. I don't know, however way you want to look at it. These issues affect everyone. Imagine people are homeless, or they're unable to pay their bills. They might resort to crime or doing things that they wouldn't normally do because they're just so desperate, or a disease breaks out and now we have it's just, and you know, people just deserve to be able to have like a somewhat comfortable life, not like coddling or, you know, doing things for people that they don't want to do for themselves, but like at least giving them some help. Not everybody has it. I'm going on a little bit of a rant now, but me and my sister were just talking the other day about how privileged we are to have each other, to have family, and to have friends. Because God forbid if something happened to me today and I had no money, I have several people who I can call, who I can stay with, who can potentially lend me money. I have credit to get a loan if I really was down and out. Like, I am in a very privileged position, speaking specifically about the connections that I have in my life, not even about how much I make or where I live or anything like that. Just, I am privileged to have family and friends. And I don't think a lot of people realize not everyone has that. Or if they do have family and friends, they're also struggling. Or maybe they passed away. Or maybe there's just a multitude of reasons. And so anytime they fall on hard times, it's just them. That's it. They don't have nobody they can call. They don't have anybody's house they can go to, or who can lend them something, or who can help them out. And some people just need a little bit of help. Didn't mean to go on that rant. But anyways, just be a good person today. Try to do something nice for somebody today. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.